most, how do I say now, the goal of the DFI or like DBN now is to kind of make the business case for sectors like that, so like agri-financing. And interestingly at DBN, all that we do, we always mainstream gender in all of our propositions. So it's something that we've done even though we're sector agnostic. So I mentioned the figure earlier, but in 2025 alone, we did 30% of that number. So just to speak to the consciousness and the around identifying agri as a thematic or a priority sector, and then beginning to focus more like putting your mouth where, or your money where your mouth is, in terms of now beginning to source funding along those lines, beginning to develop propositions along those lines. So for example, we have what we call the LPRES scheme. I don't know if anybody here has heard of LPRES. Yes, exactly. And that is tailored particularly for the livestock value chain. And the thing about agriculture is that you can fund so many MSMEs, but if you're going to talk about real sector, agriculture dominates, because in it you have manufacturing, you have exports, it's almost like it's a very necessary value chain, essentially. So with a product like the LPRES, we've been able to do a lot more this year. And for gender, we've been able to mainstream gender, especially in terms of the pricing and how do I say now, the use of credit guarantees as well, to kind of bundle propositions. So for that particular sector, we've seen that things like technical assistance bundled with credit guarantees, bundled with impact pricing, and all of that together is beginning to have that impact, that results we see around growing that portfolio. So it's a marathon. Development finance is always a marathon, it's never a sprint. So I think that we're starting in the right direction. Thank you.
You can hold on to that. So, thank you very much for that wonderful submission. But I think that most importantly, the MSMEs in the room, I'm sure that some have heard about it here and some are just hearing about it here. Is there a whereby whatever fund we bring towards the financial institution that you work with, everywhere you have influence over how the fund is disbursed, who the fund is disbursed to in terms of duration, the repayment plan, so that this fund will actually go. Because there are a lot of smallholder farmers, MSME, small guys that are just starting, and they actually need the funds. They have union, they have good plan and all. How is it possible? So I would come back to you on that answer. I just want you to, to think over it while we go to the next speaker. So. And also, panelists, if you have any reaction to whatever any other speaker says, please feel free to react before you jump onto your own question. So I will be moving to the NEDF. Mr. Muhammad, so it was reported that you mentioned that there is a $180 million investment gap, for us to be able to bridge what is currently needed in the agricultural landscape. And yeah, that is actually a lot of money. And I will tell you one thing, that a lot of private sector were actually happy when your agency was created, because they see it as an agency that is going to lift them from whatever they are currently experiencing. They see you being closer to them than probably other agencies that has been set up before you. And now, how is NEDF going to structure its instruments or its intervention to bring in more investors into the landscape, so that you do not depend more on donor funding, because donor are just donor. Eventually they would go. It is not like you said earlier, it's not Father Christmas scheme. How do we ensure that we build on what is more sustainable, what can stay for a very long time? We have investors, and all of them, they have their separate interests. How do we ensure that we capture more of them, so that our smallholder enterprises are going to benefit a lot from that?
Yeah. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody. So thank you, Hafiz. I think we should give them credit. I had quoted the Stanbic IBTC 2024 report that said there is a funding gap of $180 million in Nigeria, estimated about $180 million in Nigeria. Again, for context, I would say that underinvestment in the agri sector, contemporary times, historically, is not a new thing. It's something that African countries have continuously faced. And that has necessitated governments around Africa to set up different proclamations and agreements. You know, it's the Kampala Declaration, it's all the other declarations. And with the NADF, what we're trying to do is to ensure that we de-risk the entire landscape. Private capital is what we're approaching. Private capital that is not only patient, but is scalable, is what we're trying to achieve. And in reflecting with the donor organizations, what we are doing is learning from them. Where, as a new entity, I would still hamper on her mention that DBN is new. NADF is going to be 2 years next week. So we're building frameworks that would ensure that whatever we do are scalable and that are also very resilient. The whole idea is also to look at the mandate that we have, and we're trying to catalyze finance. So the strategy is, how do we keep bringing in blended finance? How do we use the little public sector purse that we have that will bring in private capital? In doing this, we're using different formats, and then we're trying to now really scale up on those that have worked out. So for instance, that catalytic role, we have some catalytic funding instruments, from the partial guarantees that we can give to the risk to ensuring that that first loss investment that has become a problem in the agri sector is now taken up. That is what we are looking, where we hope to play within the first loss investment. And in doing that, currently we're funding studies, example with the RBDAs, where the NADF is putting its little public sector purse to fund credible, bankable studies that will allow for the RBDAs to have proper irrigation. These are feasibilities that are commercially and technically sound. We're doing this with some state governments. We're partnering with partners like the GIZ to develop frameworks that would last. Where another example is what we're doing with PropCom, trying to set up state-led sector de-risking mechanisms. What are these states looking at? What are the peculiar and particular issues that they have, and how can they de-risk? So these are some of the things that we're doing. And these innovative de-risking frameworks have to be built from scratch. They have to be stress tested, and they have to be ensured that they are possible to bring in this private capital. Again, just to give a bit of context, the NADF is Nigeria's probably newest mechanism to ensure that funding is brought into the agri sector. So the mandate is funding agriculture in its entirety. And agriculture here also connotes fisheries and aquaculture, and also the livestock. The mandate includes that we fund or give support to research. We also coordinate state governments' aspirations within the agricultural sector. Besides, like the DBN, we are also a wholesale lending institution, and we try to deploy our assets through the classes of debt, equity, and grant. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. That's a very brilliant submission, but I have this to note that probably during the commitment session, because everybody on this panel is going to commit to commitments that they can hold to it. Very important. So maybe one thing we could look at is how NADF could probably partner with any of the organizations here or to see how we can develop some framework on the interest of investors from outside the country, because a lot of commitment is now flying around in the international development space, whereby before some investors come to a particular country, they want to see your willingness to adopt climate smart practices. What are your gender mainstreaming objectives? They want to see all those critical things within your portfolio before they can come in and say, yeah, we want to do some investment through you. So maybe that's something you would want to look into as well. So during the commitment plan, maybe this you might want to build on this. Thank you very much. Yeah, so moving on, we are going to the Bank of Agriculture, Mr. Ayo Shotinri. So recently, your agency signed an MOU with a Brazilian organization, and the MOU involves some critical aspects of our value chain, which are credit facilities for inputs and equipment, and also investment in seed technologies. And these are actually very brilliant, if you ask me, because infrastructure-wise in Nigeria, we are very poor. There's a study that says that we are doing, I don't have the figure on the top of my head, but I know that it says that we are doing very poorly in terms of mechanization, you know. And without mechanization, there is no way for us to feed everyone. And seed, we need seed. Science Consulting is doing a lot in that regard with the necessary stakeholders. So now, the question is, how can an average private sector guy, be it MSMEs, women-led organizations, how can they benefit from this? How can anyone just probably walk up to you and say, oh, we are interested in this seed technology fund, we are interested in this infrastructure fund, how do we get it, how can we be a part of it, so that it won't just be something that will be for, as I would say it, commercial farmers? How do small guys equally benefit from it? Because commercial farmers probably do a lot of cultivation, then they export out of the country to make more money. But the small guys probably are the ones that cultivate for us to consume within the country. So how can they benefit from it? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me start by thanking the organizers of this, Gaines, MasterCard Foundation, GIZ, EU, NADF, my brother, and Sahel Consulting. This is a platform for us to continue to amplify our voice within the agriculture sector, because it's a dire need for our existence. Show of hands here, if you don't eat food. Well, I can pump my hand up to say I don't know how to use AI, and AI cannot grow food for us. Anyway, so at the Bank of Agriculture, we are the oldest agri-finance institution in Nigeria. I've seen the young and the youngest who play within the sector here. We are 53 years in existence, and we've been playing the critical role of financing the sector for quite some time with various instruments. We are currently, I would say, working across 110 locations, giving us the closest proximity to farmers. And the way we are set up, having a retail DFI mandate, they do wholesale, we do retail. So please, all your money is retailed through us, DBN and ADF. Our job is very simple. It is to catalyze investments into the agriculture sector. And it cuts across all spectrum of, this dire sector, from giving microcredits to smallholder farmers to syndicating, large-scale commercial deals like the fertilizer you talked about. The signing we did in Brazil was between the Bank of Agriculture Nigeria and the Development Bank of Brazil. It's we're about similar age. The difference is our balance sheet sizes are different. It's a $165 billion balance sheet bank. And our discussion is very simple. It's about how we support the Nigerian agriculture sector in two ways. How to design a credit line for the Bank of Agriculture to support farmers, and also potential Brazilian farmers who want to come invest in Nigeria. The second thing we signed was how we commercialize seeds technology of Embrapa, the foremost agriculture research institute in Brazil, who've been able to create, amazing seeds technology across, different value chains. So we're talking about in Nigeria, most of our seeds we do between 1 to 2 tons per hectare for a typical farmer. For some of our certified seeds from seed companies, I think we get between maybe 6 to 9 tons. In Brazil, they do up to 14 to 20 tons. So it's a case of how do we take that IP, bring it to Nigeria, and we both invest in developing, there would be, potential seed varieties that we want through the seed companies in partnership with other financial institutions such as NADF, DBN, BOI, and Co. Now, when I talk about seed technology, we're talking about them being able to develop breeder seeds, foundation seeds, and certified seeds that can be multiplied across the seed gardens in Nigeria, that can be distributed or sold at even ward level. I'm sure you all heard the Minister of Budget and Planning talking about, a ward level based program. So for us, that was the second thing we signed. The last thing we signed is a humongous deal, which is how we commercialize the production of urea, gas to ammonia to urea, for supply to Brazil. As you know, Brazil is almost like the food basket of the country, of the world, and what they don't have is fertilizer. So the plan is, how can we, partner with Brazilian manufacturers to produce, fertilizer in Nigeria, a percentage for Nigeria, and the remaining going to Brazil. I think we're working with setting up 2 plants, one in Akwa Ibom and the other one in Ondo State. For me, how do we use this as a platform to catalyze investments in Nigeria that can be put, that can be refinanced for, farmers in the agriculture sector? Moving away from Brazil and talking about what we're doing as a bank. So mechanization is a perfect example. The Ministry of Agriculture, in partnership with the presidency, bought, equipment for mechanization. I think about 9,000 farming equipment. We ourselves are buying, I think about 9,000 to 10,000 extra ones. NADF is buying, more agriculture equipment as well from John Deere. And we are saying, for us, how do we take this equipment, refinance this equipment to the right, I'd say, segment of players within the agriculture sector, mechanization companies or mechanization service providers, youths who want to go into mechanization, and also women who want to go into mechanization, rather than giving it to political farmers where, these tractors become scrap in a few years. And Mr. President has seen, the problems over the decades of how tractors, work for like 1 to 3 years and they become scrap metal. And he has, graciously invested through us in 6 massive service stations across the country that can literally, piece apart the tractor and reassemble the tractor, meaning they know the nuts and bolts of each tractor. So we would also be having hubs across the country for all the tractors that we refinance to the sector. Lastly, we will be having the first line of service, which are 36 mobile trucks that goes around each site where the tractors are working to actually service the tractor as a when due. The good thing is the servicing of the tractors would cost X amount. For 3 years, it's been built into the cost of the tractor. So whoever buys the tractor, you rest assured that you have service for the next 3 years. So for us, we're trying to bring input services closest to the farmers. I've talked about mechanization. Again, seeds. We talked about seeds already. How we want to invest in seed companies so we can move, production of food. If we're planting on 10 million hectares every year and we're getting 10 million tons of grains, how can we increase that to having 40 to 60 million? It's only by having the right type of seeds. And for us, we want to heavily invest in that, where whichever smaller the farmer we're financing have to use certified seed to be able to increase its productivity, and in turn they'll be able to pay back the facility. So we're doing that in irrigation, we're doing that in farmer literacy and in other areas. Maybe during the course of the conversation, I can share more with you what we're trying to do. But in terms of commitment, I would be the first to make a commitment to Nigeria, to the agriculture sector, on behalf of the Bank of Agriculture and Mr. President, as to what we are trying to do ambitiously. Lastly, please stop calling us an agency. We're not an agency. We're state-owned enterprise. We are a bank. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so very much. That's a very interesting. So before I move forward, this session is supposed to last for an hour, 30 minutes. So they just informed me that it has been cut short and we have up to, I think, we have 15 more minutes. So you just have to bear with me if I'm rushing this session. So So you mentioned a lot of things that are quite interesting, and also I would think that maybe digitalization of this support would go a long way to help the youth and MSMEs to access all these infrastructures, be it rental, be it repair, whatever it is. If it is digitalized across every nook and cranny of the country, everybody will be able to access it. Maybe that's something you might want to consider when we are requesting for your commitment. Yeah. Thank you. So to Sahel Capital, we have a lot of youth. I'm sorry if I'm particularly about youth, because I believe that we are the future of food system in the country, and we are currently doing a lot in that regard. So thank you. So a lot of youth, they have brilliant ideas on how to process, how to produce. A lot of youth want to go into tissue culture, a lot of enterprise. And if you ask them, honestly, going into agribusiness these days is not cheap again, because we want to do things innovatively. We want to make sure that whatever we do, the yield is times probably 5, 10 of what is currently obtainable. And yes, capital is an issue. They've actually gone a very long way to acquire the knowledge, the skills, certifications. So now, how do you think youth-led and the women-led enterprise can attract private investment funds? What are the things they need to have? What are the skills, or how can they attract them? For example, how can they attract Sahel Capital to invest in them? Take, for example, I want to go into tissue culture lab. What can I do to get the attention of Sahel Capital to invest in me? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm from the other side, Sahel Capital. So I'm going to be very frank, and I'm going to answer your question straight. If you have an idea, start from where you are, because there are 1,000,001 ideas. Nigeria is not a market of ideas or innovation, it's a market of execution. You need to start from where you are and act. The first thing you need is not capital. Capital in the sense of someone financing you. A network is a capital. You can join a network, get access to information, get access to collaboration, get access to people who can. Let me give a very practical example, because I don't like to be talking theory. I met a young, one of my pipeline companies, investing companies in the recycling space, graduated from Covenant University, and he wanted to do recycling. And of course, he didn't have money to set up a plant, but he understood what's going on in that space. The first thing he did was he went around, looked at all the companies doing plastic production, and started gathering their scrap, their waste plastic material, and started looking for buyers for them. So he started with trading in that same recycling space. So he started gathering, because the first thing is that whoever wants to fund you wants to know that you have a skin in the game. It's very easy for us to sit here and say, I want capital, I want capital. I am the only, maybe apart from you, but you're a state-owned enterprise anyways. You don't have, I'm the only probably fully commercial, client-facing institution here. If I lose money, I have investors to answer to, and it's not always a chick in the back. It is like, I'm not going to, you lost money, there's nothing to say. So if you want capital, the first thing to do is you need to prove, you need to show what you've done with where you are and what you have. So back to my story, he started trading recycled plastic chips and all of that. He found export market for it in Europe, just buying from big plastic companies in Nigeria and trading. And then with the profit he was able to get from trading, he was able to set up locally fabricated machines to do flaking of single-use plastics, right? And he got more cash flows. From that point, when you approach a financial institution about funding you or partnering with you, it becomes a conversation that can be had. So that's the first thing. So this thing about I have an idea, I've read something, an idea is an idea. There are 1,000,001 ideas. Execute it, come up with results. Nigeria is a market of execution. There are 1,000,001 things that can make your idea fail. It's not about you. It's about the market. That's the first thing. Now, after you've done that and you want to assess capital, the first thing we'll look at is the different types of capital that is suited to what you're doing. If you're still very, very, very early stage, we advise seek grants, because at that point, maybe the risk maybe still slightly be higher. It might not be suitable for you to take debt, for example, and the debt might even be too pricey. So we say, look for grant opportunities, and and then so you have to put yourself out there, look for these grant opportunities. After you've done that, then there are opportunities like, okay, so maybe we're participating in financial institution for NADF. Then depending on the type of funding, or for DBN as well, participating in financial institution, maybe you can access loans, right? And the bigger you get, then maybe you can access equity. Usually when you're very small, it's very tough for you to access equity. I'm just saying as it is, because if you access equity, like, it's very hard. Like, what's the equity even worth? How do you even value it? So you start from grants. So first, start with where you are. Access to market, find something, do something, get cash flows, get customer. The first thing in starting a business is find somebody who is willing to pay for what you have. The first cash a business needs is the cash from its customer. It's not the cash from the investor. When you get a customer, you know where the customer is, you know you have the product, go and find someone who has it, be the broker. Then make money from that. Once you can prove that you can make money, the next thing is that you set up your factory. All of the big industrialists, and I'm going to mention that industrialists in Nigeria, they all started with trading. What trading does for you is that it helps you find markets. You know that you have a customer who is willing to pay. It's when you have a customer that is willing to pay for something that you can say an investor can back you, or an investor, whether it's a bank or a private equity or whatnot, can give you money. So that is how it works. So I really want to change that mindset, because there's a lot of networks where people can get access to information, access to networks. You need a dryer. There are platforms where there are many, many entrepreneurs that have dryers. Their dryers are not even fully utilized, but you want to buy another dryer. Collaborate, lease a dryer for what you need to do. Focus on getting the extra amount of cash and the extra amount of cash, because that is really what your business needs long term. And any investor that sees a thriving business from where you are, what you've done with the little you have, it's a no-brainer. They will back you.
Thank you so very much. That's very straight to the point, and I was, as I would like to call it, you are very being Dutch. You are very direct and straight to the point. Yeah. So thank you so much. So from what you said, proof of concept is key, and also collaboration is also very important. You can't do everything alone. Yeah. So because of our limited time, I would like to jump to the commitment session. After that, we'll take maybe 2 or 3 questions from the audience before we call it a day. So collaboration is key, and we understand that. Like I started this conversation, funding is not something that comes every time, especially from donor organization. And whether we like it or not, there will be a private sector that will always come up. They want to scale up their enterprises. And of course, through scaling up, we have more jobs. Through scaling up, the economy is going to be developed. So I would want everyone on this panel, the 4 of us, to at least try to see what they can do with one person from this panel or from this audience. What can you do with one person to ensure that we co-create a sustainable financing mechanism for agri-business? And another thing could be that the bureaucracy is also a bottleneck. You want to get funding, you want to scale up your business, you want to get a loan, but then it becomes very difficult because of the process. From your own organization, how do you think you can limit this bureaucracy? Could be through digitalization. How do you think you can streamline the process? Because I was at an event organized by SWOFON. What every member of SWOFON said was that, oh, we went to BOA, the process was so rigorous, we just had to abandon it midway. I'm saying this, and that is what they actually said. So, and it's actually very sad hearing, because these are people that are passionate. You want to scale up, they have the market, they do a lot of poultry, and they'll tell you the process is too bulky, we just have to leave it alone and run for our dear life. So now, what do you think you can do with one person here to co-create a sustainable financial mechanism, so that even without GIZ, without these big guys in the room, you can still continue to provide loan or grant or subsidy to small-scale guys so that they too can one day become a conglomerate that everyone can reckon with. So who wants to go first?
I can go first. I think you directed the question to me to start. I don't know what BOA your people are talking about, but the new BOA that I know where I work, to open an account is actually a link. You go online, you open the account in literally less than 30 minutes. So I don't know what BOA you went to. You know, they say the taste of the pudding is in the eating. I'm sure you saw some news article about us supporting the government to pay agro dealers. There were about, 3,000-4,000 of them. They opened an account. We did our KYC in an hour. They all got their money within 24 hours. We challenged them that if you don't get your money within 24 hours, we'd actually pay you extra. Why? Because when I took over the reins of the bank, the first thing to do was to move it from what you call an agency into a bank, which is digitizing the entire bank and creating a banking infrastructure. That was my main focus. My very first outing, my very first speech was about digitizing the entire operations of the bank, and that has been done. Again, we have 110 locations. I'm not going to lie to you that everything is sort of synced, but we are working seriously towards it. Right now, everything you want to do with Bank of Agriculture is online. We're launching a tractorization scheme tomorrow for the 2,000 tractors you keep hearing about. You apply online. If you bring a physical application to me, I can treat it. So, again, my commitment shouldn't be that because we've already done that.
So now what I would now ask is that we have 3 other big guys in the room. We have NADF, DBN, and Sire Capital. What do you think you can do with any of these 3 or anyone in this room to ensure that we have sustainable financial mechanism? Because I know NADF is like the big guy, they give funds to people, and you already said you can collect funds from them and use for your own activities. Is this something you think you want to consider?
Okay. So please permit me to...
Okay. BOA. I want BOA to answer that before you go first, because I want to do it on a case-by-case basis. Yeah. So NADF has some fund. You said that they can give you the fund so
Correct.
that you can use it for your own activity. Is this something you think you can go into official agreement with NADF to...
We've already gone into an official agreement.
You are already
with
doing
NADF.
that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, all right. So we are going to...
fund cassava farmers, to be specific.
Cassava farmers?
Correct.
Okay, now I want to be a little bit selfish here. Can you look into dairy, cocoa, ginger, or tomatoes as well?
Again, we are for everybody within the sector. We do...
So if any cocoa or dairy or tomato farmers come to you now, it's something that can be possible?
Well, we have different schemes for different value chain. So I can't make promises I can fulfill. Smallholder farmers, yes, we're going to be financing 1.5 million smallholder farmers very soon. And it's crop agnostic. We're not, specifically saying it has to be rice or maize. So, yeah, the different programs that we're going to be having soon.
Okay, so we should watch out. One of these 4 value chains would be part of it. Because what we are doing here is commitment. I really want you to commit because you are already doing something. We applaud you for that. You are doing well. Please applaud him, please. Yeah, thank you very much. So, you are doing well, honestly, and we applaud you for that. We want you to do another commitment. Honestly, you can't do too many goods. Honestly. Yeah, and we want a lot of that. So we really want you to commit.
I hear you.
So one more thing.
But I'll be very candid and honest, and I'll let the other speakers, talk. For me, I really believe in, the power of the collective. Yeah. Building one ecosystem where NADF is working with BOA, BOA is working with DBN, DBN working with Sire Capital, because we all dispense finance into the sector. And working together as a collective, we can raise more money because we can show results, outcomes that some of the farmers are actually profitable to finance. Yeah. Gone are those days where, you find, commercial banks saying they're not profitable because the sort of capital they have to, give to them are super expensive, 35-40%. It's very difficult. But how you know they're profitable is if you look at that aggregation company, the aggregators. They are still in business today because they make money from smallholder farmers. So why can't we? We have cheaper source of capital. So it's developmental. And our first focus is actually impact before profit. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And from what I hear, communication is a very powerful thing. Somebody will say something and you hear something else. Rapporteur, are you taking notes? So what I hear is that we should expect that in a couple of months or in a year, value chain, another additional value chain to what you currently have is going to be incorporated into what you are currently doing with NADF, right? And I want to hope and believe that ginger or dairy or cocoa or tomatoes is going to be there, because these are 4 value chains that are actually very, very important. Just imagine life without dairy, cocoa, or ginger. No, just imagine it. It is unimaginable, honestly. Yeah. Thank you so very much. Who would volunteer to go next? NADF. Thank you very much.
Ladies first.
Okay, ladies first. I respect that.
Okay. So, please permit me to just speak on what you've mentioned, and also take us a bit back to the theme of this, conference, which is anchoring change in national systems and scaling programs that you've spoken about, the development partners, donor partners as we call them. I think it's very important that as a country, we also realize the larger political landscape, the international political landscape, and what is happening with some development partners. So one of the things that NADF is doing is trying to see how we can anchor those innovative programs that those development partners are doing into national institutions. So one, we're doing that, and my first commitment is that we're committed to continue to do that.
Thank you very much.
2 is what we've just spoken, what Ayo has mentioned. The 3 of us here are on a joint program, the cassava funding, the seed capital for the cassava funding. But then Tosin also made a point to say that private capital is like that. And the mantra that we've come to the NADF with is that whether it's public capital or private capital, capital is capital. And we've come into a sector where agricultural finances has had a bit of a checkered past. So we're trying to erode that trust deficit that has been established by institutionalizing very deliberate approaches. So we've started our on-lending programs with industry leaders. It's our on-lending partnership with the likes of Wakot, the likes of flour mills, and all the others, where we are trying to see that public sector funding is also deployed in a secure manner. And then we hope to trickle down. The second commitment is that we'll continue to do that. And then financing innovation. Where are the gaps? I would give an example of what we're doing, again, with MasterCard Foundation and Sultry, where MasterCard Foundation has brought in, I think it's 700 and something million naira, and then NADF is now providing further concessionary funding of the same amount to Sultry. So how do we now bring in these two, utilizing public sector funds and then anchoring those into our national systems? So again, we want to see that we build public sector institutions that are as sound and as scalable and as stable as the private sector. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. NADF has made this job very easy for me. He has already committed, and the commitments are actually a very good one, because we need institutions that would anchor all these innovative projects that is currently being done by our dear donor partner. So I have managed to plead for additional 10 minutes. Do we have it? 10 minutes. Thank you. So we have 10 more minutes, so we are going to go to DBN and also Saye Capital. Then we are going to have a moment of reflection from Dr. Andrea before we take one question from the audience. Just one question. It's going to be from a woman. Thank you. So, so just 2 minutes from you.
Okay, thanks. Once again, I think I know that it was said but it's actually, nothing in my mandate stops me from partnering with development finance institutions, actually. So it's something that we can definitely look at. Can I sit here and give the whole picture or the dynamics as to how that would work on this one instance? Probably not. There will be follow-on conversations around that, because at the end of the day, my license is wholesale. So I recognize that there's a need for very viable retailers, really, to get to the last mile. But I also want to say something that we're looking to do especially this year, I think I slightly mentioned a portfolio tilt to priority sectors and key thematic sectors. And I mean, agric is one of them, as well as some other sectors. And we have started engaging on the funding side. So, I mean, for DBN, most of our funds, I mean, we borrow as well. It's a lot of debt funding, actually. And we have raised money from the markets. So if you have those kind of funding, it's not funding that you're going to play with. You need them to come back because you want a sustainable institution. You don't want to give the loans today and 10 years down the line, there's no DBN to, you know, it's a disservice to Nigeria. So I'm saying that to also say that some of the areas that we're focusing on, especially around, you know, certain areas or states and regions that we feel or we have research has shown to be more financially excluded, we're now beginning to look at aggregator programs around some of those areas, because even though we're a wholesaler, we're trying to use a small window, of course with approval, because we are regulated, to see how we can even also explore directly. Because it's easy to ask somebody to get in the murky water, but if you yourself are not rolling up your sleeves and getting into that water, then it becomes very difficult to preach that sermon. So that's some of the things. This is now speaking more to the easing and streamlining process, the second part of your question. So those are some of the things we're looking to do. Maybe whilst we're being careful to ensure that we're not competing with our retailers directly. But I mean, the future of DBN, by next year, we expect to have platforms, some digital channels, and be able to do some aggregator models directly. And of course, with my co-DFIs and panelists, we are very happy we have the whole unit for strategic alliances at DBN. So it's something that we're happy to look at. I don't know the dynamics of how it would work or what will come, the structure it would be, but we are definitely happy to have follow-on conversations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can already see exchange of cards going on there. So in addition to what you have mentioned, is it something you can consider, maybe having a pipeline of fund for your financial institution that would focus mainly on women processing agri-products? Is it possible? Is it something you would want to look into?
So for gender agri...
Yes. Now I'm being particular about women now. For
processing.
Yes.
Because we do have, we have started agric as a thematic credit line. And we started with the livestock, and then we're even going beyond that. And in all of that scheme, gender is mainstream in the sense that the pricing or the guarantee covers that we give for gender or for female-owned business is actually way better.
Yes, I know. But I still want to emphasize again, for women processing agricultural products. Okay, I can give you I can go easy on you. You can come back to us on whatever the commitment is. I'm sure Sahel Consulting is going to reach out to you to know what your response would be. But honestly, I really want you to consider it, maybe having a pipeline for women that are processing, because I've seen a lot of women processing tomatoes. They are already doing well, but they really want to scale. They will tell you that they have a lot of demand from across all the country, but they cannot meet those demands.
Structured businesses.
Structured, I can give you their details if you want. Honestly, I would give you. We have them already. They are not, they are there. You can find their address, see their equipment, everything about them. We'll talk about it after this. Thank you very much. So over to you, Sal, Capital.
Okay. So what's the question? The commitment? Is that the question? Yes. Well, I'm always looking for businesses to fund. I'm always looking for pipelines. I've said I'm not going to fund an idea. So you must have started doing something. And we're funding we are building products to fund the entire ecosystem. So we have debt products, we have equity, we have grants. We've now started a small pool of grants, repayable grants that we started recently. And the reason we started that is that there are different sizes of businesses, and your revenue can't be 200 million naira, and you're asking me for 5 billion naira. You're not going to pay it back. So we know that there are different levels. But if we see credible entrepreneurs, so we want to have ability to be able to support people on their different journey. So we have, a pilot of grants that we started with. We're looking for more support for that. It's not dash money. When we say it's grants, it's repayable grants. The only thing that is not there is the costs of financing. But we still want you to show the credibility that you are bankable. We can invest in you, that you're credible, right? So it's a repayable grant. And then you can then scale. We have like now a debt product. And then if you get bigger, you have equity. Equity is typically for like bigger businesses. There's a whole reason for that. And that's what we're doing. We're launching a local currency product. We're talking to PFAs to raise money. We filed the product with SEC. We're waiting for approval. There's a lot we're doing in the ecosystem. We're always looking for great businesses to back. So I'm always looking for pipeline.
Emphasis on great businesses.
Yeah, no, great entrepreneurs. I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day. We just want serious people. All right, and there's no this idea that there's free money. There's no free money. So you need to know that money has to come back. There's no impact. There's no sustainable impact without sustainable returns. There's no sustainable impact without sustainable financial returns. So every time we're thinking about money, we need to think about money in a way that money itself, the financial returns themselves are sustainable, in that the fund can continue to perpetuate itself, because that's when the impact can be sustained. So we want serious entrepreneurs. We support entrepreneurs even in their journey. You know, sometimes you have very strong entrepreneurs, they don't have processes, you know, they don't have, we have TEA pool of money that we can use to support people. We want trustworthy and serious entrepreneurs.
Thank you very much. And the beautiful thing is that at EUV's Direct Project, we have this amazing intervention. We call it readiness for finance. So now, if you want finance, even though you are bigger, you are doing very well, we will still prepare you. We'll get you ready so that whatever you would need, they already have it. Then we just do the matchmaking, and then it will be a marriage made from heaven. And my colleague is here, Maria. She would be reaching out to you after this session so that they can take this conversation further. So we have 5 more minutes. Am I right? Thank you. 5 more minutes. So we'll take one question, please, from the audience. Then, yeah, one question from a woman. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Udo, and I work with a company called Yemet, and we're still small anyway. And what we do is we're USSD first agri-tech company, and we have a bundled solution that provides directly to smallholder farmers, crop insurance, a marketplace, and climate financing. And my question is directed towards, and maybe I'd like to maybe direct it towards climate financing, because I've pretty much not heard anything about it since we got here. So do you have specific programs? Because from our work with smallholder farmers, and we go to the rural communities, and we support these farmers through our bundle solution that can be accessed through their, non-smartphones, no internet. With their 2G phones, they could easily access our services. But one thing that we started to introduce to them was the idea of an additional source of financing through carbon credits. And we've seen the adoption grow. And we're now looking at what other stakeholders are channeling their funding towards that, particularly that sector of climate financing. And I wanted to now throw that question back to you. If you have programs that are directed at for you who distributes, retail financing, do you have programs that are directed towards supporting small businesses like ours that now downscale climate financing to those smallholder farmers to help them to increase their source of income? Anyway, that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, I believe we're probably the only organization that would finance one of those here, or directly. So maybe I should answer you. Yes, I can tell you we have a product paper for that, but we have something, very close to that. However, we're developing a framework, a mechanism for, climate financing for different smallholder farmers. And part of what we're doing is a program called the 1 million hectare tree crop program. To answer your question about if we're doing anything in the cocoa space, where we plan to have different state governments pledge land for tree crop production, one cocoa, oil palm, cashew, rubber, and coffee. So obviously, you know, that's for degraded forest land to sort of, you know, plant economic trees. So yes. Sorry? It's been approved by Mr. President, so we're at the design phase. We're going to be bringing all partners on board, DBN, NADF, GIZ, EU, everybody. It's again, working together as a collective. It's going to be us co-designing this program very quickly. But again, next season for cocoa will be starting pretty soon. So we will be doing something, I hate to use the word pilot, but something similar to that. Small scale, correct. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. We are currently out of time. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. We are out of time. We would have loved to take more questions, but unfortunately, we cannot. We hope that next year you will still join us. Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much. So we'll quickly take a group photograph before we take our leave. Thank you. And please, a round of applause for our panelists, please. They deserve it. Thank you very much.